There are moments in time, however tragic they may be, that change the course of history and even forces changes for good. May 1st, 1994 was one of those seminal moments in the history of Formula One. Arguably the greatest driver to have graced the sport until then, Ayrton Senna da Silva suffered a fatal crash on the 7th lap of the San Marino Grand Prix while leading the race at the now infamous Tamburello corner of the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari circuit in Imola. It marked one of the darkest chapters in the championship since its inception in 1950. Senna's crash on Sunday was the second fatality of that weekend after Roland Ratzenberger had lost his life during qualifying on Saturday. The Austrian driver hit a wall at high speed when his Simtek Ford suffered a front wing failure. In fact, it was F1's weekend from hell. On Friday, another Brazilian, Rubens Barrichello, had a severe crash during practice when he hit a curb and got launched into the barriers. Only the timely intervention of F1 doctor Sid Watkins saved his life. Three-time world champion Senna moved to the all-conquering Williams F1 team for the 94 season after his long stint with McLaren, where he had won all of his titles. In 92 and 93, Williams dominated the sport after mastering the active suspension technology, powering Nigel Mansell and Alain Prost to the driver's crown. However, in 1994, the FIA banned electronic driver aids like active suspension, traction control, and launch control, and Williams struggled during the initial part of that season. Senna did not score points in the first two races when he crashed out in his home race in Brazil before being taken out by Mika Hakkinen in the second one in Aida, Japan. In Imola, the Brazilian took pole position. There was a massive crash on the opening lap. Pedro Lamy in his Lotus hit the rear of JJ Leto's Benetton, which stalled on the grid. The safety car was brought in to clear the debris for the next 5 laps before racing resumed on lap 6. On lap 7, Senna's car veered straight into the concrete barrier as it approached the fast left-hander Tamburello corner. The driver suffered severe injuries when one of the tires hit his helmet while a piece of suspension also pierced past his visor. There have been many theories surrounding the reason for the crash, from a driver mistake or a puncture to a steering column failure and even a drop in tire pressure due to running behind a very slow safety car. Senna was given emergency treatment at the track before being airlifted to a hospital in Bologna, where he was pronounced dead 3 hours later. Prior to the events in Imola, F1 had not seen a casualty during a race meeting since Riccardo Pelletti's fatal crash at the 1982 Canadian Grand Prix. The deaths of Ratzenberger and Senna sent shockwaves around the world and illustrated just how dangerous motorsport really was. It was the kind of rude awakening that the sport needed. Leading up to Imola 1994, there were apprehensions that cars were getting faster and safety needed to be improved. The fact that one of the best, if not the best, the sport had seen had succumbed woke the powers that be out of their slumber. Immediately, the FIA sprung into action, and a slew of safety measures have been enforced since then, making F1 one of the safest categories of motorsport. Some changes to the car included raised cockpit sides to protect the head, better headrest protection, and wheel tethers. One of the most significant advances was the introduction of the head and neck support device in the early 2000s. The Hans device is attached to the driver's helmet and, as the name suggests, significantly reduces the impact on the head and neck. Many drivers have avoided severe impacts since then. Though drivers initially resisted it as it restricted their movement, it has become ubiquitous across most categories. More recently, the Halo device, a wishbone-like structure around the cockpit, was introduced in 2018 to protect a loose wheel, or at times even the wheels of other airborne cars, from hitting the driver's helmet. The wheel tethers ensure the tires don't come loose quickly in case of a big crash or suspension damage. Apart from changes to the car, much work has been done on circuit safety in terms of barriers, runoffs, and fences. F1 has constantly reviewed safety measures and updated tire and tech pro barriers to find ways to reduce the impact on the driver during violent crashes. Modern circuits have many asphalt runoff areas which help drivers avoid crashes even if they run wide. However, the flip side of these has been that there is a perception that drivers don't pay the penalty for going off, which has taken the challenge out of the sport. It's a tricky balance between safety and fairness, but begrudgingly, safety has been prioritized. The fact that Formula One did not see another driver fatality for another 21 years showed the sport's remarkable progress since that fateful weekend in Imola in 1994. In 2015, Jules Bianchi became the first driver since Senna to die because of an accident at an F1 race. During the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix, the Marussia driver hit a recovery vehicle attending to another stricken car away from the racetrack. But in damp conditions, Bianchi ran wide and hit the recovery vehicle and his car slid under the wheel loader, causing a significant head injury. In a way, the accident further accelerated the need for a device like a halo to protect the cockpit without losing the essence of what F1 is, an open-wheel, open-cockpit racing series. A lot of credit also has to go to the Grand Prix Drivers Association, GPDA, which has worked closely with circuit promoters, the FIA and F1, to advance safety measures. Incidentally, on the morning of May 1st, Senna proposed reviving the GPDA, which was disbanded between 1982 and 1994 after Ratzenberger's death, and offered to lead the organization himself. The modern version of GPDA came into being immediately after the events of Imola. While Senna's blinding speed, mastery of wet conditions, and the ability to be hard-nosed in battle are what people will remember him for, the Brazilian left an indelible mark even from the beyond, ensuring that the sport that he lauded over is safer even if it required his ultimate sacrifice.
The idea with the run, and thanks for joining, is really to remember his legacy, but also Roland Ratzenberger, who died the day before on Saturday, making the Imola Grand Prix in '94 a very dark moment in time. 2 drivers losing their lives. We would stop a little bit further on. He crashed in turn 6, losing the front wing. But thanks for coming, and his and their death, an accident, paved the way to make cars safer for us, the still benefits that we have today, for them risking their lives and losing their lives.